What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Crown Vic Kid. My name is Gabe, aka Crown Vic Kid, and welcome to the second episode of Glory Days. And today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be restoring these headlights. So, I have a good process of how to restore them. I actually did it as a summer side hustle. I actually made about 500 bucks, so it works pretty good. So today, we're going to be restoring these headlights. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm only going to show this side just so you see the process. I'm going to do the other side on my own, and then I'll show you the final results, the end results. But for this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how to restore any headlights. You're going to watch the process of how to do it correctly, and how to get really good results on your headlights and make them look crystal clear like they're brand new. So that's what we're gonna do for today's episode. I have my stuff right here that I'll show you exactly what you're gonna need in order to get these things nice and clear. So let's go look at the stuff. So before we start, let's have our daily dose of scripture. So this comes out of Matthew chapter 11, and this is verse 28. And it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So who's talking here? Well, in our Bible, the text is in red, so that means it's coming from Jesus. So Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So what does that mean? Well, Jesus is telling us that he's directing it to those who are weary and burdened. So if you in your own life, if you ever feel like you're holding on to a lot, you're carrying a lot on your own shoulders, things that might be out of your own control, you're stressing yourself out, and you're putting a lot of weight on yourself. And so the Lord says to all those people who are weary and burdened, and some say heavy burdened, I will give you rest. So if you ever feel like you have a lot that you're carrying on your shoulders and it just doesn't go away, there's no way to get rid of it, it's out of your control, look towards Jesus. And he says here that I will give you rest. So if you pray to Jesus, you ask him to give you peace, to take all this weight off of your shoulders, and you let him take control, he will bring you rest. And believe me, it's happened to me. I've had a lot of situations where I have a lot of things that I'm holding on to, and the moment I let them go and I ask him for help to take those burdens off of my shoulder, I feel so much more at peace. I feel so much more at ease, and you feel more lightened because you're not carrying so much on you. And you give it to him and he takes care of it. That's Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Again, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Now, that's been your daily dose of scripture. Now let's get into the video. All right, so I probably know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking to yourself, Gabe, I want to know how to make $500 as a side hustle, cleaning headlights. What do I need? Please tell me. Well, I got you. So let's start off with everything here. You're going to need a bucket full of water. You can't tell, there's water. So you need a bucket of water. You're going to need yourself a little squirt bottle. It doesn't have to be this big, but you get yourself a squirt bottle with some soapy water. You're going to need these little pads. So you're going to need one for a polish, and then you're going to need another one for a compound, and then have an extra one on you to help buff out the area. So you're going to need those. And they actually come with this little thing so that you put it in the drill. So you got yourself a drill, get yourself some gloves, some plastic gloves. Then you got here the polish that you're going to use, and then here's the compound you're going to use. So both of these are from Meguiar's. So it's Meguiar Ultimate Compound and then Ultimate Polish. These are a little bit old, probably a year and a half old, so they might look different at the store. They might have a different picture on it now, but it's Meguiar's polish and compound. And then you're gonna need some wet sandpaper, not normal sandpaper. You're gonna need wet sandpaper. So I like to use 1000 grit, and then you're gonna get a 2000 grit and then a 3000 grit. And for those sandpapers, you can find those on Amazon as well for about 10 to 15 bucks, like a big pack of them. So I like to use 1000, 2000, and 3000. And then get yourself some masking tape. Get yourself a towel that you're going to be wetting in the water, and then get yourself a dry towel. Then you're probably wondering what this is and why I skipped this. This is going to be a bonus. So what I have here is Meguiar's headlight coating. So it's essentially a clear coat that you put on your headlight. And so I've never used it. So it's going to be the first time I use it. But we're going to use it once we buff the headlights. We'll let it sit for a while so it can dry because it'll be wet. And then once it dries, we'll get this and we'll clear coat them and see how it turns out. So it could be good, it could be bad, I don't know. So this is a bonus, but for the main part, it's everything else. And then this paper is simply to cover the surrounding area of the light so that this stuff doesn't get on the paint. Other than that, this is about everything you need. So now let's get into the actual process and show you how to clean your headlights. So let's go. All right, guys, so here's our headlight that we're going to be working on. Now, a few tips and tricks that I wish I would have learned when I first started. There are certain headlights, as you can see here, this one obviously looks pretty dirty, pretty hazy. Now, there's a few ways to know whether this headlight can be cleaned or whether it cannot be cleaned. So, when you look at a headlight, if you look real close into the headlight, if you see cracking in the headlight, then likely you will not be able to get it crystal clear. Why? Because when it hazes like this, it's mostly on the outside, but once it starts cracking and the sun starts to burn through the inside, then it's already too far gone and you won't get as great as a result. But when you're looking at a headlight, if it looks like it's the outside that's very yellow, that's a good thing because that means it's on the outside. And with the sandpaper, you'll be able to sand it down and get it looking like it's new. But if it's cracking, you're likely not gonna get it looking great. You'll probably be able to clear it up a little bit if it's got some outside haze, but you're not gonna get rid of the cracks. In some headlights, you'll see almost like a cloud. And it's pretty obvious even when the headlight is hazy, you'll see this big cloud. And when you see those clouds, those as well, you will not be able to get rid of because that's on the inside. So a lot of times, those are the two big things that I wish I would have known when I started cleaning headlights. So one, if it's cracked, you won't be able to get rid of the cracks. And then if you see a cloud, even when it's hazy, if you see a cloud, you also won't be able to get rid of it. You might be able to get the yellow out, but you're not going to get rid of the cloud. So it'll still look almost blurry because of the cloud. So that's something to look out for if you want to decide to do this as a side hustle. When you're looking for cars with headlights, the best ones that give the best results are usually the ones that are just super yellow on the outside, and those always give the best results. But if they have a lot of clouds or cracks or even both at the same time, you might be able to get some of the yellow out, but you're not going to get it looking crystal clear. So that's just a heads up for you guys. And I wish I would have known that, but I want to share that with you guys in case any of you guys want to start this as a side hustle. And so now let's actually get into it and let's start the process. All right, guys. So first step in the business is we need our gloves. So let's put our gloves on real quick. All right, guys. So now we're going to get our bottle of soapy water. And what we're going to do is just going to spray the area so we can get it clean. So let's do that. Now that we got it all wet, we're going to get another towel. I forgot to mention, get one towel for the soapy water. So we're going to get our soapy water towel, and we're just going to clean the area off. All right, let's clean our headlight just once more, just to make sure everything's, just to make sure that there's no more dirt or grime. All right, so we got that done. Now we're gonna get our dry towel and just dry the area off, just to make sure there's no wet areas, just like that, mostly around the edges, and then we're good. So now we're gonna get our masking tape. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna mask the border, not on the light, but around the edge, just to make sure when we're sanding it, our sandpaper doesn't accidentally slip and start scratching on our paint. So we're gonna make a bit of a perimeter with masking tape just to make sure we don't scratch the paint. So let's do that real quick. All right, guys, so there you have it. We masked the perimeter of the headlight. I like to make a thick little area just in case, in case it slips. You don't have just a little tiny area, but you have a big area. My masking tape is a little thin, but they do sell thicker size masking tape. So if you want to get one of those, that will probably be better. And then I would recommend getting the thin one for the edges, such as like right here, right along the edge, and then the fat one for the edges for outside, so that you have enough being covered so you don't hit anything with the sandpaper. So now that we got that, we're going to get our wet rag and just get it in the water. So what the wet rag is going to do is, because we're wet sanding it, we always have to keep the light wet, just like that. So as we're sanding down, you're going to keep wetting it just to make sure that it's nice and wet as you're sanding. So now we get our sandpaper. So you're going to want to start off with 1000 grit. So this is a pretty long piece of paper. So what I like to do is I like to just fold it in half, and I'll tear it in half so that I use one side on this side, and then I use the other side on the other headlight. So we're just going to fold this up real quick, make a little crease, and then we'll tear it off, and we'll have a paper for one side and a paper for the other side, just so we don't have to use two of these, and it saves you money. So we're going to rip it, tore off nice and good. I'm going to put it to the side, the extra one. Then we're going to get our paper, and we're just going to dip it in the water like that. Now it's wet. Now we're ready to start sanding. And for the first one, for the 1000, you're going to want to just go one way. So I like to just go left and right, since it's kind of a left and right headlight that kind of rhymed. So I'm just going to go left and right. Don't go up and down. Don't go swirls. Just go left and right. So we're going to do that. And usually the more yellow the headlight is, you'll see that once you start sanding it down, you'll see almost like a milky substance. The water will just start to turn yellow, and that's how you know you're scraping all that yellow stuff out. So this one's pretty yellow, but not too bad. So we'll see how it goes, but we're going to start sanding it. So remember, keep it wet, and we're just going to go left to right. So I'll do a little time lapse just so you're not here for an hour, and I'll show you the results.
So guys, as you're doing this, depending on the size of the headlight that you're cleaning, sometimes the headlight has really hard corners to reach, but make sure that regardless if it's hard to reach or not, you try to give it a good sanding. Even if you have to position yourself a little weird to get it to sand it correctly, just make sure that you give it enough sanding as well to get out all the yellow and all the haze, so that when it comes to compound and polish, it doesn't have a distorted look because you didn't fully sand the corners. So make sure as you're doing it, you're getting the corners really well, you give it enough love, and yeah, so make sure you get the corners nice and good. Make sure you sand them down as much as possible, and yeah, that's your tip.
All right, guys, so we went at it for a few minutes. Once you're wet sanding and you see that there's not a lot of milky residue coming out and the water's pretty clear, that's when you know you can move on. So I cleaned it well. There's no more milky substance coming to the bottom. As you can see here, if you're able to see, you can see there's a little dirt streaks. So that's how you know that you're getting all that yellow stuff out. So once you finish with the 1000, we're going to move on to the 2000. So same thing. We're going to fold it up so we can save it the other side for later. Crease it up. And then now with our 2000 grit, when we sand it, so now when we sand, we can go both this way and up. So with the 2000, you can go this way, you could go up, swirls, you could go whatever direction now. So this one takes a little bit longer than the first, just because you want to try to make sure you get everything, every little crease. There's these little nudges right here that are getting in the way, but we just got to go around them, make sure we get around them. So we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to wet sand all this, go up, go down, left and right, circles, whatever you want, and keep going until the milkiness stops. And then once we finish that, we'll move on to the next step. So let's start doing that. So as you can see, it is looking in much better condition now. It's looking much more clear. And now we can move on to step 3, which is the 3000 grit. So same thing, fold it up, fold it like this, fold it like that, and tear it off. And with the 3000 grit, it's going to be the same as the 2000. You can go this way, you can go up and down, and you could go all around. So we're gonna do the same thing here. This is the last step. So once we do this one, it should be looking pretty good. I mean, these headlights are pretty old, so I don't expect 100% from them, but they should be looking a lot better than they were. So let's go ahead and do the 3000 and see how it looks after. Let's do it. So as you guys can see, after doing the 1, 2, and 3000 grit, you can see that our lights have become much more clear than they used to. For reference, this is what they look like before. Well, this is the left side, but this is what it looked like, and now this is where we're at. So as you can see, they've cleared up. When we wet them, you can see that they're nice and clear. Are they 100% perfect? Not yet, but you will notice that once it starts to dry up, it's going to get hazy, and that's completely normal. Don't worry. It almost looks like we lost our progress here, but that's where our chemicals come in. So we're going to dry this area off, and then we're going to start with the chemicals. So let's do that. So before we start our chemicals, we're going to go ahead and take off all this masking tape because we don't want anything to be wet. So we're going to take all this masking tape off since it's wet. Ooh, that's satisfying. Beam bada boom. That easy. Then we're going to get our drying towel. We're just going to go ahead and dry the area off. Make sure that it's nice and dry, as well as the light all around the edges. Doesn't have to be too far out of the edges, but just along the edges will be good. Now that we got the area dry, as you can see, the headlights have gone hazy again, but we have a solution for it. So we're going to get our first pad. Make sure you keep track of which pads are which. We're going to put it into our drill. There we go. Then we're gonna get our Meguiar's Ultimate Compound, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a few drops. Nothing too crazy. If it's a smaller light, you're gonna put a little less, just so you don't have so much extra. If it's a bigger light, you're gonna use more, but we're gonna use about this much. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna splat it on there, and we're gonna start to spread it out all around the headlight. If it gets on your paint, that's okay. You can easily clean it off at the end, but we're gonna pat it down. Now that we got it on there, we're gonna start going at it. And with this, you're gonna go back and forth, up and down, and you just keep going until all the compound ends up disappearing. So we're just gonna go side to side, up and down, all the way until everything disappears. So let's do that. And not to mention, as we're doing it, you want to keep it at a consistent speed. Don't go too fast, don't go too slow. Keep it at a medium, and as well, don't put pressure on the pad because it'll then scrape your headlight. So just keep very light pressure on it, on the edge, and just go at a nice fair speed, and that's how you do it. So as you can see, we went ahead and put the Ultimate Compound, and it is looking crystal clear almost. So now, like I said, you want to get yourself an extra little pad, and what this extra little pad is you're going to use it with the drill to just drill again, go over it again, just to make sure you get any excess. In this case, I got most of the excess off with just the first drill, since I didn't put too much. So it's not quite necessary for me, but for any of you guys, if you keep going and you see that you still have a lot of residue and a lot of streaks, you'll go ahead and get an extra pad, put it on your drill, go over it again using the drill, and since it's a dry new pad, it should take off all the excess and you'll be good. So that's what the excess pad is for. So now that we got the compound, we're going to move on to the next step, which is the polish. So we got ourselves a new little pad, and we've got our Ultimate Polish by Meguiar. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to put not too much, just a few drops. So you're going to want to put slightly less than the compound. So we're going to put drop there, 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 and there, just like that. So now we're going to do the exact same thing again, pat it on there, and start brushing, and keep going until all the excess is off. If there's still excess, remember, get yourself another pad, put it on there, and go at it again, and that'll take off all the extra residue. So let's get on to it. So we got a new brush. We went ahead and finished the polish, but just to buff it out a little bit more, I put a new pad on there. So let's buff it out a little bit more. So there you guys go. There is our new looking headlight after restoring it. As you can see, much more clear than it used to be. It does have some imperfections here and there, but like I said, So that's going to be with every headlight, depending its age and how well it was kept. But for this car, for its age and the haziness it was, the yellow it was, we got it back to pretty good condition. You can see the headlight itself on the inside looks like it might have some condensation. So this headlight might be cracked or it could just be dirty. So eventually we'll have an episode where we change the headlight housing completely, just so we have a brand new one. For now, we have a way to restore them so that they don't have to stay yellow. And it came out really good, as you can see. And here's reference. Here is our new light. And here is our old light. As you can see, hard to see through. Not very clear. But on this light, you can see through it. Much more clear. So there you have it. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and clean this one, but I'm going to go ahead and do it off camera since it does take a while. And once I finish, we'll go ahead and show you the end results and how it looks. So there we go. Went ahead and cleaned them up, and they came out pretty good for the condition of this car and these headlights. They're pretty old, so they do have imperfections, and unfortunately they are cracked. So a bit of water got inside, so I have to deal with that as well as the other one. But for the most part, they came out really good, and the newer the car, the better. Overall, came out really good. All right, guys, so it's the next day. We got the lights cleaned, and unfortunately it was about to rain, so I had to stop there. Whenever it rains, you don't want to be doing your headlights because it'll end up washing off everything that you just did. So I had to stop. I had to put the car in the garage and pretty much just let all the chemicals sit in, let them cure and dry up. But now we're here, and we're going to be doing the bonus part, which is the Meguiar's headlight coating. Hopefully you can see that. But I've never used this stuff, so hopefully it works, I would hope. And we're going to go ahead and try it, see how it works, give it a test. And technically this isn't necessary. The process that we just did is good enough to clean headlights, and you can have it just like that. So, but this is just a little extra, kind of test it out, see if it's something worth buying and worth using, maybe as a little upcharge for your headlight cleaning. So we're gonna give it a shot, and I'll give you an honest review about it, and we'll see how it works. So first we need to mask off the area. So I have this big brown paper, and we're gonna go ahead and use that to cover it around the headlights and wherever there's paint and plastic, and on this side and this side. And then once we do that, we'll be ready for this. So let's jump cut to that. All right, guys, I'm on the other side now. So we got the car covered up with some brown paper. I pretty much covered the whole thing just to make sure nothing gets on the paint. So now from here, what we have to do is we got to clean our headlights with some glass cleaner. Just make sure that all the grime and any dirt comes off. And once we do that, we're ready to put the coating. So let's do that real quick. All right, guys, so we have our glass cleaner right here. So we're just going to do a little coat like that, nothing crazy. And just clean it. Then we'll get another paper towel just to dry it off, make sure there's nothing left on there. Now, same thing on this side. All right, guys, so now we're going to take our headlight coating. So it says here you're going to do one coat, back and forth, a medium coat. You're going to leave it to dry for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you come back and you do a second coat, another medium coat, and leave it to dry for 3 to 5 minutes, and then you'll be good. So let's start with the first one. It says to shake it very well. So we're going to shake it. So now let's give it a shot. Okay. Let's say that was a medium coat. So let's go do the other side, and we'll let this one sit for 3 to 5 minutes. Then we'll be back. All right. So now it's time to do this side. So let's give it a medium coat. There we go. Looks pretty good to me. So we're gonna give it 3 to 5 minutes to cure, and then we'll come back and we'll give it another coat. All right, guys. So it's been about 5 minutes. So we're gonna do the second coating now. So again, medium coat, and then once we finish that, we'll let it dry for about 3 to 5 minutes, and it'll take about 24 hours to cure. So just make sure you don't wash your car for about a day. And other than that, let's do this second coat. So let's go for it. There's the second coat. So now let's go to the other side and do the same thing. All right, guys, same thing here. Another coat. So let's do that. And there we go. So there's the coating. From the looks of it, it's looking pretty good. You can tell that these lights have been pretty beat up because of the sun, and it does look a little bit foggy, but maybe once it dries up, it'll clear up. Same with this side. A little bit foggy, but it's looking good. And we'll have to give it the time it needs to dry and cure, and we'll see what the end result is with that. So we can go ahead and take off all the wrapper. So let's do that. So guys, as you can see from afar, they look pretty good from afar. And now we just got to take off the wrapper, all this paper, so that we can let it sit and cure for about a day, and then it should be all set, looking good. So let's take all this paper off. All right, guys, so there you have it. We're going to go ahead and give these about a day to cure, and then you'll be seeing the end results. I've got to wait a day, but luckily you don't. So yeah, that's it. That's the bonus, the headlight coating. Hopefully it works good, and I'll let you know in about a day. There is our new lights that we cleaned up. They're looking a lot better than they used to. Much more clear with the fresh coat on them of the headlight coating. And to be honest, they look good. And we'll see how long the headlight coating lasts and see if it's worth it to buy and to use. But overall, came out real nice. And that's pretty much going to be it for this video. There's our new looking headlights, or restored headlights, and it's looking real good. So guys, I'm in my car now. It's a little hot, but it's windy outside and I don't want it to affect the audio, so that's why I'm in here. So I'm gonna do the outro here, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys learned something today, and thank you guys so much for joining me on this adventure. And that's gonna be the end of this episode of Glory Days. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification button so you guys know every time I post. And I hope you guys enjoyed. You guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you guys next time on the next episode of Glory Days. See you later.